Hello, and welcome to the webinar, Turn Quality Events into Quality Wins. Lixil flushes out chaos. This event, brought to you by Quality, is sponsored by ETQ. I'm your moderator, Daryl Sealand, Editorial Director of Quality. Thanks for joining us. Today's presenters are Wade McNabb, VP of Quality at Lixil, Kia Bennett, Leader of Quality Americas at Lixil, Jennifer Bianchini, Senior Product Marketing Manager at ETQ, and Levi Square, Senior Implementation Consultant at ETQ. Don't forget to submit your questions, and later in the program, our presenters will address as many as possible. Today's event is being recorded and archived on QualityMag.com. And now I'm excited to turn it over to today's first presenter, Jennifer Bianchini.
Thanks, Daryl. Thanks for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And I'm very also excited to have Wade and Kia joining us. So let's start things off by taking a quick look at the agenda. First, we'll go over some of the quality management challenges that can occur. They can happen all the time, or it could be a one-off event that is critical to your organization's bottom line. And then there is what you should take into consideration when assessing a QMS. Then Wade and Kia will share how Lixil turned around quality events into quality wins. And Levi will share from the ETQ perspective, highlighting on the process for implementation on the QMS, the journey Lixil experienced, and lessons learned. And then we'll do a quick wrap up. So we'll have plenty of time at the end to answer your questions. So don't be shy. Put those questions into the chat. This time is for you, helping you to be a quality champion. So let's dive in, shall we? So first we have a quick poll question I'd like to kick things off with. So taking a look at the question here, how would you describe your organization's current approach to quality events? So taking a look at the options here, is it reactive? You kind of, fix issues as they pop up or arise, or are you improving? You have a system that's kind of in place. You're working towards a more proactive approach. Or are you mostly proactive? You have some systems in place to help with quality events, but there's room for improvement. Or are you fully automated? So the organization has data-driven insights for quality management, or you're just not sure, and that is okay because we're all here to learn. So let's give it about another second, and then we'll see what the results are. All right. Let's see. Make my box a little bit bigger here so I can see. We've got, oh, nice. Okay, so over about half, 52% improving. So you've got something in place, but you're looking to take a more proactive approach. That's not surprised to hear that. So thank you, everyone, for sharing that. All right, so let's dive into why we are all here today. All right, so manufacturers, they face a range of challenges, but unexpected events like unplanned deviations or nonconformances or sudden quick quality failures, they can be the most damaging. And these events often expose weaknesses in manual, siloed, or inefficient systems. So let's break this down and take a look at some of the common challenges we see with customers, and maybe you are facing some of them as well. So first, there's manual systems. They will delay responses. So when you have an unexpected event that occurs, paper-based or manual systems, they slow down the ability to react. And information is scattered, it's incomplete, or it's not available to everyone who needs it. Then there are siloed systems. So When you have siloed systems, it obscures the full picture. So unexpected events often span across departments from production, quality, or supply chain. And when you have these siloed tools in place like spreadsheets or SharePoint folders, it makes it harder to connect the dots. Next is not having visibility into root causes. So without a structured process, it's hard to understand the impact or root cause of an unexpected event. And this unfortunately can lead to repeated issues. Then there's inefficiency. So a slow recovery, to sum it up, when systems are clunky or inflexibles, teams will waste time just trying to log or find information, let alone having that ability to react on it or to act on it. And then wrapping this up is version control. Um, Version issues. So in the heat of an unexpected event, teams might be relying on outdated processes or documents, and that really compounds the issue. So these are just some examples, but overall, they make quality processes frustrating and inefficient. So how do you, as a quality champion, begin to tackle the dilemma of unplanned events? And not just in theory, but real measurable steps. The first step is to start with a quality management system. So it's a step in the right direction to equip you to handle these disruptions with speed, consistency, and confidence. So our customers have seen some really impressive results backed by third-party research. For example, they experienced a 50% reduction in the time spent supporting external audits. Why is that? Well, because everything is logged, it's traceable, and it's easy to access. They also reported a 30% reduction in time spent managing customer complaints. And this is thanks to centralized tracking and automated workflows. Then there's cost savings. They were able to achieve on average a 10% reduction in field failure costs. So fewer issues in the field means fewer returns and happier customers. Now let's talk about revenue. When you reduce delays and improve collaboration, you speed up innovation. So our customers shared that they were able to shorten their new product development timeline on average by about 40%. So that's not just efficiency, it's also giving them a competitive advantage. So what does this all mean? A QMS helps you to respond faster to unexpected events, make smarter, data-driven decisions, and drive real business results. So the takeaway here is pretty simple. A QMS, it isn't just a tool, it's a catalyst for quality transformation. Because when the unexpected happens, and unfortunately it always does, you will be ready. Okay, so now I'm excited to turn it over to Wade, Kia, and Levi. And I believe Kia and Wade will be kicking it off. Wade and Kia, over to you.
Jennifer, thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you today. Want to talk to you a bit about what we've done in terms of transforming our quality management system at Lixil. So first off, Kia, I'm looking at the title slide now. If we want to go to the first slide about Lixil. Many of you probably have never heard of this company before, but hopefully you've heard of our brands. The company itself was formed through various acquisitions starting in 2011, but the history of most of our brands goes back 100, 150 years. So you may recognize American Standard brand, primarily here in the US, also in China. Also the Groa brand, which is showering systems, predominantly in Europe, also in the US. But this is the way we go to market. Then around the world, so the next build on this slide, we're in 150 different countries. We have many factories around the world, about 55,000 employees or so. So you can imagine this might keep us busy tracking all of the quality efforts around the world, whether that's new product introduction, whether that's after sales challenges once products are out in the market. But what we wanted to talk to you about is a journey, a transformation that we have been on for the last, let's call it 18 months, where we've done a lot of good work internally to give us data where we can react. So the next slide is talking a bit about a quality event. What is it and how do we manage it? So the next build, if you imagine what a quality event is in our vernacular, in our vocabulary, I've listed the definition we would use. Quality escape being something that left our control and went out into the market, and then we receive feedback in a negative way most of the time that something has happened, the product is not performing as the customer expected. So we have several different characteristics or several different flavors of this. Next build. The first of these is a field inspection report. So this is the case where our people are in the field, are able to go visit one of our distributors, physically touch the product that has the complaint or has the perceived issue, and then confirm whether or not this is an issue. So this is the practice of being present with our distributors and making sure that we understand the problems they face. The next build is what we call an escalation. So this could come to anyone in our team, in our quality team. Could land on Kia's desk, could land on basically our CEO's desk, could land anywhere in between there, which basically means the customer is really not happy with something they've experienced, and that causes a bit of a different pace inside the company. And then the last build is large jobs. So imagine that our products are present in a large hotel or a casino or an airport. Anytime we have one product amongst many others, then that causes us to undergo a different approach. And in many cases, this could mean large dollars if we're faced with replacing product if we can't solve the issue on site. And in many cases, we may send our team directly to the site such that we have better information than simply relying on communication to come back to us. But the last build on this slide gives you a percentage of what we're really dealing with here in the quality event. And we've embedded these into our system. That's why we're talking together with our partner from ETQ, because we've implemented their system, and our word and their word, quality event, is literally a piece of technology that we're able to interact with in the system. So Kia, let's go to the next slide, which is how do we engage all functions within the business? So hopefully you're seeing a feedback loop, which is how information would come into our company. What do we do with that information? How quickly do we respond? And this sets the tone because all of our stakeholders, whether that's internal or external, have an understanding of how we work. Because we will need to get to a root cause. Anything that's come into us as a quality event will definitely go through root cause and corrective action. But this gives you a visual of working our way around the cycle, how the information comes in, what we do with it, where do we put it, how does everyone communicate. And so what I want to show you next on the next build is how do we put that beautiful graphic into practice. And this is where we take the data from within the system, pull it out into a form that's easily able for us to be able to communicate at all levels within the business. so that we can see what these quality events are and what phase of life they're in. So one more build, Kia, and we'll get the live data coming up in a bit of a larger screen so people can see it, hopefully. But since we've implemented the tool, you're looking at April 24 when we first started, all the way until now. And this gives us a very crisp view because I'm a visual person. I like to see different colors, how they interact. But what this tells me in a quick glimpse, what's new and what are we behind on? So if we expect something to be out of the investigation phase by now and completed, what is it that we need to do about this? And so if we could go to one more slide, Kia, and this is really where I'd like to have some perspective from Levi, because this is the poor guy who had to live through all of the aspects of developing these dashboards. Every time I had a different idea and wanted something new, poor Levi was the guy trying to figure out how to implement this in the system. So the first build, you'll see basically how we could click on any one of those bars and get 3 different scenarios. So if I want to see the events which may be active investigation, simple screen click and those light up in the orange color. If I want to see what's in investigation planning, it's similarly if I want to see what's just been initiated. So very quickly we get the visual, and then a few clicks in, I can be to the actual data about one of the events that occurred in a month or a single event that I may have particular interest. So Levi, sorry to put you on the spot, but let me throw this to you a little bit if you want to talk a bit about how we developed this and how frustrating may have been to work with us on it.
No. I appreciate it, Wade. Thank you very much for bringing me in on this. I'm very much honored. So at the end of the day, Wade is a true visionary when it came down to this, and all we had to do is make this actionable. We really followed the psychology of reporting, understanding that if we were using more attacking colors, we'd be less likely in order to leverage these reports, because so many of the team members leverage these reports all the time, including Wade himself. So what we did is we looked at everything as a forest. We flew over that forest and we understood we had a whole lot of trees that we needed to look at, and we needed to be able to parse those things apart and break them down. So one of the greatest things about the Reliance tool, which is our platform here at ETQ, is that we have a life cycle for every single record. And in that life cycle, we have specific phases that designate major milestones throughout the entire quality event process. So standing true to his word and being the visionary that he is, he ensured that every single person adhered to that specific process. So thus, when we came to the reporting part of it, we were able to section out specific pieces, zone in on them, and then really bring the whole thing to life. One of my major things that I always said and said throughout our implementation is, you have so much data at your hands, let's use it and paint the mural of what you're doing every single day. Let your actions not go unnoticed. And in the visualization that we have here, one of the great aspects of it is that we're looking at the time in which that quality event was occurring. So each one of those different date markers, all the way back in April 2024, all the way to the present date, that's whenever that record was initiated. So not only do we get to see a quantity of what's being initiated, but at the same time, we get to see where the current state is, and then we get to further slice into it, or as I like to say, land the helicopter in the forest and let's go dissect some trees, even though we don't condone cutting down trees.
Thanks, Levi. Very good analogy. So as we're
Yes,
flying
sir.
over the forest, let's imagine that we want to take a look at one of the trees. So on the next build of this same slide, within all of a specific type of quality event, if I wanted to dive into one of the 3 that I had mentioned previously, or imagine that I simply want to look at all of them as a whole within a time period. So what you're seeing here, and I know the graphic isn't that pretty, but basically every single SKU or every single product that we put into the market, which we refer to as a SKU, I can see the failure mode because we have categorized these failure modes very quickly, very crisply in order to see my top tier. And then if I wanted to go look at the rest of them, it could be a very long tail, but I'm concentrating on at least the top. Then we can go look at what might the pattern be across the various products. So if they've all been coded to a particular failure type, then what do I do next? And so the next build on this, simply I change the time frame, and as soon as I can change that time frame via that slider at the top left, then I have the updated version. So again, very quick and crisp to use the live data. I'm not depending upon anyone to create reports, because I don't think any of us get paid on how pretty our slides are or how nice our reports are. What I'm after is, what is the data, what is the problem, what is it we need to do to solve this for our customer, and then correct whatever processes cause that, whether that be with our plants, with a supplier, or elsewhere. So Levi, any other final thoughts before we turn this over to Kia?
No, I thank you once again, Wade, for bringing me in on it. So the idea here is that we can't eat the elephant in one bite. We need to break it down in simple parts and look at it from that perspective. And then we need to understand, one thing is that we get asked so many times, and this is one of the beautiful things about working with Wade, and it's been such a fun time, is we're asked often dollars versus donuts, but that only gives us a point in time reference. And as shown just with these two visualizations as it's built through, is yes, the time and the point in time is important, but we need to look at this historically. Because if we look at that cycle that we had beforehand previously, we're ingesting data over a long period of time. And the idea of it is to improve. That's the second half of our jobs as quality professionals, is quality control and then continuous improvement. And that's what we're trying to build out with these dashboards and visualizations. We did a lot of customization with the system and then with the actual reporting, but it was to tailor that experience to the individuals at work. And that's one of the things I really wanted to point out here in the voice of what Lixil definitely focuses on, is we may have ideas at the higher echelons of every job and work, but the people that are doing each one of these activities is where they focus all of the intent on. And that's where we were able to bring all of this together. Each person that's cutting down the tree, we gathered data from them in the way in which they gathered data, and then we were able to roll this up into what we're seeing now. And as messy as it does look, it's still a wonderful mosaic of a very beautiful practice that touches everybody on this call. So once again, thank you, Wade, for letting me be on it.
Levi, thanks very much. Kia, let's go over to you now, please.
Perfect. So you guys have seen the process and how we've used the data to help refine our process. Like they discussed, we were in a very reactive quality management phase. We had delayed containment, we had inconsistent investigations, we had limited visibility into root causes, and we had missed opportunities for continuous improvement. So now that we have ETQ on board, that's allowed us to shift from our reactive to preventive process. We've gone from chaos to control, and we're very proud of that. With our digital data-driven quality approach, we've now standardized and automated our quality events and investigations. As Wade discussed, we can go in and isolate one singular quality event or look at trends in our quality events. We can look at key root causes, or we can look at key metrics from those various events. We've accelerated our containment and our corrective actions. So now we have the ability to contain and make corrective actions on the spot, in the plant, in our facilities momentarily, as opposed to having so many emails go from one person to another person and waiting for someone to respond to that. We've also strengthened our compliance and our audit readiness. So now that when we go out to do our audits, we have data that we have for the auditors to review while they're in the processes in our manufacturing plants or at our various facilities. And we gained insights from the analytics and trend reporting, as you just seen Wade present. we use this data on a regular basis to make decisions about the business, about trends that we're going to be focusing on, about key metrics that we need to put in place. So what the result has been is a much more predictable, measurable quality performance. So in consolidating all of this event tracking across our multiple sites, we have been able to reduce our investigation time by about 40% because now it's in a one-stop shop approach. We've improved our containment speed and compliance documentation because everybody knows where everything is held and where it needs to be placed. And we've leveraged our real-time dashboards for executive visibility. So when I'm reporting to my senior executives, we're going into ETQ, we're demonstrating our system, we're talking about the data that's in the database, and we're using that on a routine basis to report out to our executive team. So the transition plan from preventive to preventive management, if you're going to go about this process, some of the things, not all, that you might want to consider is that you thoroughly document the current state of your process so that you can understand where the problems originate. And then maybe implement a continuous improvement process. Build a framework for ongoing improvement, such as a Lean Six Sigma or TQM process. And then focus on risk management. Identify and manage risks that could lead to quality issues. Then use data and evidence. Provide data on the costs and impacts of poor quality to justify the shift to preventative approaches. And then empower your teams. Use cross-functional teams to analyze problems and develop solutions and assign clear accountability for process ownership. As Wade said, we're in the early stages of our transformation. We still have a ways to go, but this transformation process has been steady and wonderful for us. And Levi has been a true testament to how we're building the framework for this approach. So I want to turn it over to Jennifer. That's going to get us back on track.
All right. Thank you, Wade, Kia, and Levi for sharing. It's some great nuggets of information for everyone. I think they got some great tips in there, especially since over half of our audience members stated earlier in our poll that you are looking for a more proactive approach towards quality events. Okay, so first, I'd just like to take a moment to share a little bit more about ETQ with you and how we support quality champions like you. So whether you are just starting your quality management journey or you're well on your way, ETQ is here to help you every step of the way. Our platform is purpose-built to help you cut costs, streamline operations, and embed compliance into your processes. And all of this leads to better efficiency, faster time to market, stronger sustainability, and real bottom line impact. We also offer a wide range of professional services, including managed services, so you get the support you need when you need it. And you're in great company. As you can see here, ETQ serves hundreds of customers across several industries, from manufacturing to life sciences, and we bring the best practices from all of these industries and all of our customers together to help you succeed. We've been doing this for over 30 years, empowering quality champions to turn quality management into a strategic advantage. And we're not just a software provider, we're also your partner and advisor, like Levi. So also, we are a part of Hexagon, a global leader in sensor, software, and autonomous solutions. So you get the power of innovation behind everything we do. All right, thank you for letting me share a little bit more about ETQ with you. And we've now reached the portion of our webinar for the Q&A. So I will turn it over to you, Daryl, to see what questions we have gotten through the chat.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Yes, as promised, we're going to take some time to go through and see if we can answer some of the questions that have come in or come up during the presentation. If you have a question for any of our presenters, I would encourage you to get that into the Q&A chat. Also want to remind everyone that we would love your feedback with in our webinar survey to help improve our programs. So again, our first question. Okay, how did your organization go about the process of defining quality and the value it brings to Lixil? For example, what steps were taken by the organization along the lines of finance, quality, engineering, R&D teams to work through this process?
Wade, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take part of it, and then
Sure.
together we'll get this answer for the group. So I would say that the definition of quality takes a couple of different paths. So the first definition is, are you talking about delivering a product to the specifications? So obviously the specifications themselves have to be very well defined, and that's a cross-functional task between manufacturing, R&D, quality, anyone who touches the product, even after sales service. So let's imagine now our specs are very well defined, and it's all about how well we deliver through the other functions to make sure we can meet those specifications. What about the things that we may not have understood from our customer? So the perceived quality, not the direct quality. This is another aspect where you may not always have a perfect definition, but you must be willing to learn from your customers. And I think this quality event section we just presented gives you an idea of how we try to learn from our customers, because maybe the product's a bit difficult to install or configure, and there's something we could do to make that much easier for the customer, for the mechanical contractor. So that is a definition of quality that may not be clearly understood. Then let's imagine all the different processes inside a company which talk about a cost of poor quality. So we have definitely been through that series of activities over the last 2 years as we've reduced year over year the cost of poor quality, which mainly comes into our warranty costs. So this past financial year, we reduced about 23%. The year before that, we reduced about the same amount. So imagine when someone asks you to reduce anything by double digits, that causes an impact on the organization of how to differently do things, because the way you've worked so far might get single-digit improvement, but it certainly won't get double-digit improvement. So maybe that's a good answer for the definition, or if there's a follow-up question, I'm happy to take that. Tia, what else would you add to that one?
And then what I would add to that, just as Wade discussed, in our warranty reduction program, we in quality lead those efforts with a collaborative team. So we're very much responsible for bringing our finance team, our manufacturing team, our engineering teams all together to discuss and work on programs, projects that would help reduce costs. They're also involved in the process of the investigation and root cause analysis. We, as in quality, are responsible for pulling those groups together collaboratively so that we can get all of the input, all of the investigation, all of the root cause analysis from various pinpoints in the organization. So quality is very pivotal in Lixil, and it's used definitely to pull all the pertinent organizations together so that we can come up with one common solution.
Okay. Our next question comes from Matthew. Matthew says, at Hallstar, we're building a total cost of quality framework that integrates both financial and quality data across ETQ modules. How has Lixil or ETQ seen organizations successfully bridge operational quality data like CAPAs and complaints with financial performance metrics to quantify cost of poor quality in real time?
So I don't know if Jennifer or Levi can address that from an ETQ perspective.
Of course. Would you like to go first, Ms. Kia? I can definitely jump in for the ETQ side.
I'll allow you to go.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. So ETQ has the ability, as you're well known and versed, that we can interweave each one of these modules in order to communicate with each other and to speak bidirectionally, right? And it does involve a little bit of legwork to get there, but eventually you can weave this web. And at the end of the day is, much like the Lixil team has done, is bringing down to the smallest variable possible, such as a defect code or category, and tying a dollar amount to each one of those units. And then, such as the corrective action module, having something that tracks the outside or additional costs that are accumulated as we're documenting these processes, then starts bringing together this more lively picture. So it goes back again to what we were saying when we were looking at the visualizations. Is we look at dollars and donuts, but then you tie a time interval to that. And much like what we did with the reports at Lixil, is you start seeing these patternistic fluctuations, right, throughout the year, and when certain things are more likely to accumulate, right? And that's kind of the direction that you have to go in order to set up the foundation to eventually get to the point where you can take that report and set it to your financial side of it and say, hey, at a quality perspective in these processes, we are seeing X, Y, and Z cost us X. We need to really much revise maybe this supplier or how we're doing things in these processes. And that's what I've seen a lot of as far as kind of weaving each one of the modules together and tying it to the smallest amount possible, if that helps any.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Did you want to say something, Kia?
No, that was it.
Okay. So I'll move on to our next question, which I believe is for Wade and Kia. What were you initially looking for in a quality management system?
Oh, that's a great question. So the vision that I had in the beginning was simply to have the data available across every single function inside the company. And I use a joke that if I wanted to know about a particular escalation, maybe I needed to walk into a team member's office and look for a piece of paper on their desk or something scribbled on the whiteboard. So that's certainly not the way to operate in a global environment. That's not the way to operate in any environment, frankly. So what I was after was a system which could deliver both an easy to use interface, global accessibility, and the aspects of the data elements that we needed. And we did find that in spades in the Reliance platform from ETQ.
And I will say that because we are a global company, bringing our other global companies on board has been a challenge, but they are starting to see the benefits of it. Every country has their own independent system that they may use for one platform or another. They may have a system for document control. They may have a system for root cause analysis. They may have another system for, PPAPs. But what ETQ does is it has a platform for just about every quality issue incident that you can think of. So if I want to see how the other global companies are doing, I can see their results. They can see my results. We can do a collaborative spend up, cost up of quality for certain products and certain product lines across the globe. So this is one benefit that this system offers that we are definitely on the forefront to taking advantage of.
Excellent. Our next question seems like it's open to everyone's perspective, but implementing or expanding a QMS can be overwhelming. How did you make the project manageable?
Yeah, let me take the first step at that, because my job was to get through phase one. Kia's job is to get to the next phase. So the first step was we had to find a scope that we thought was manageable. And then we decided that we needed even more than that as we went through the implementation. So I can imagine Levi laughing at this moment, because we bit off a lot in our first phase, but we pushed the team very hard to make it happen, even though we thought this was a manageable scope in the beginning. So I think you need professional program management, which we had from our side. We also had services from the ETQ side, but together you need a plan. You need to stick to that plan, and it's very inviting for the scope to creep, but you must be very careful with how that scope creeps. So for example, we decided that in phase one, we would not connect to any other system. We would focus everything inside Reliance, knowing that in future phases, we definitely could take advantage of linkage into our SAP system or other systems. But again, I think it goes back to define a scope, do your absolute best to stick to it, and only allow that scope to expand when absolutely necessary. So I'll open the question up to the others for their answers and opinion.
Sure. And then in the second phase, as Wade said, we're kind of taking it a step further. So the initial focus of the team was, let's get our documents in there. Let's start that document control process. Let's start our audits in there. Now that we've had that audit process going, now let's start our inspection programs in there. We have that moving along. And I think now we're at the step where, one, we're starting to expand out to more modules, management of change, PPAP, and StageGate, but also we're looking at integration, because our Americas company has just taken on the SAP integration. So how can we leverage the data that's in our SAP system to connect and talk directly with ETQ? So that's where we are in the second phase. Again, taking off bite-sized pieces that we feel as though our team is capable of managing and doing it one at a time.
Definitely. I do want to add some stuff in here because the modesty of the two individuals representing Lixil here is astounding and beautiful. One of the other key things outside of having a phenomenal project management team here on the Lixil side and the ETQ side is that each work stream had their own representatives for each one of the modules that were going in, and had true champions leading the charge for that to help further organize, almost a dereliction, a general leading out his captains, right? And then having the support from their tier, that high level support, saying, hey, we're here to make sure whatever you need, whether you're a project manager or a champion, I'm here to do that for you. And every single time they went to bat. And every single time when a plate came in from the kitchen and it looked as if there was more than enough to chew, they either motivated the team to push them forward to keep on chewing through it, or they sent the plate back and said, hey, remake this. And that's not a bad thing to do whenever you're going through an implementation. Know your boundaries, fill up the room with what you need, and whenever you meet the walls, pull back if you need to, or know that you need to expand the room. And that's one of the key properties, and one of the beautiful things about Lixil is that we kept that balance the entire time. There were moments, yes, that were stressful because we were looking at either a scope creep because it was something that neither ETQ or Lixil caught, and we knew it was inevitable and we needed to do it. And we did. And we rose together and we overcame it. So having buy-in from the team, having multiple tiered leadership options inside of both teams really, really helps out. And then also, don't be afraid to ask questions. Every single meeting that we would have, whether it was late at night or early in the morning, we wouldn't finish the call until everybody's questions were answered and we were all reading the same page. You know, sometimes somebody will be a little bit further along in the paragraph, but at the end of the day, we were still on the same page. So I just wanted to give that to the team because it is a very important part of it.
Indeed. Terrific. We have another question from Matthew. One of our challenges is ensuring consistency in RCA quality across global sites and functions. What approaches, whether standardized methodologies or digital templates, have proven most effective in driving a common language for root cause analysis within ETQ across a global organization?
So we built our root. Oh, I'm sorry, Wade. We built our root cause corrective action process directly into ETQ. So one of the strategies that we use is that every issue requires root cause corrective action has it built in that you must do a 5 why. That is just the basic approach that we require for any root cause corrective action issue. And if there are other techniques that are desired or that must be utilized, like a fishbone or a fault tree diagram, we can attach those documents into our ETQ system as well. We also have a format that we follow, a templated format that is generic for all of our global industries. They all follow the same template, and that information is also attached in ETQ for every issue that requires a root cause corrective action. So that's how we ensure that everybody is doing the same thing.
I guess I would throw one more piece into this, which is the system itself and the way we use the life cycle states. As I was showing earlier, when we initiate something, the person who initiates is someone who's also involved in the approval before we close out a particular quality event, which in most cases does require root cause and corrective action. So having someone who's looking over the final answer, if you will, maybe we sent the issue into one of our plants and we receive the information back. Maybe we still have questions and we're not ready to close out. In other words, to go all the way to complete the life cycle on that event just yet. So I think using the workflow is a key piece, as well as all of the things that Kia has just described.
Excellent. Our next question. Do you have any lessons learned you'd like to share with us, or advice for someone out there who is evaluating a QMS to help grow the value of quality?
Well, there are many lessons learned. I'm not sure we have enough time today to go through those, or if I might need an adult beverage to talk through some of those as well. But to be clear, I think the key thing is you need a plan which says the value of implementing this system is X. And that value can be described many different ways. Certainly there's a dollar value that equates to payback on the investment. And we worked very closely with the ETQ team as we went through our business case. The other piece of this is you need sponsorship because it will be difficult. The team will get distracted. You must set priorities and stick to those priorities. If you're on a timeline to roll this tool out and someone's getting behind, then maybe they need some motivation, or maybe you need to adjust your timing. And so some of the lessons learned, we did have distractions as we went through this process, but we were able to overcome them, not always in favor of implementing the software. In some cases, we had to press the pause button for a second, but we always knew the end game. We knew what it was worth. I think the team members who were engaged in the various work streams understood what was in it for them. And it can be as simple as the system will give you the information and you get to clear your desk of doing all those reports and PowerPoint slides and focus on getting the job done, satisfying the customer, improving the product. So many lessons learned, but I'd say sponsorship is key. Levi described how the team worked together and had a very good scope, an approach to controlling scope. I guess the one thing that, go ahead, sorry.
No, I would say the other thing is the plan, Wade. The plan is very important. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Break the plan up into very bite-sized pieces and knock one thing off and then go to the next. You don't have to do everything all at once.
Wonderful. And Wade, I think you touched upon this a little bit with your last answer and the definition of X, but our next question is, how are you defining success, or what does success look like for you?
Yeah, I think success has many different definitions, but I can't overemphasize the value of having the information you need at your fingertips, regardless of who you might be. So when Kia says she goes into a meeting with the senior leadership team and we work directly from the software, every piece of information is there. If there's an image, if there's a detail that's easier to clarify visually, then that's already embedded in the system. We don't have to go chase some shared drive somewhere or some thing on someone's laptop. It's all there for us. It's very well organized. It's in the context of either discussing a customer, discussing a property, wherever our products may be installed, discussing a common issue. So I think the value of just having information in one place, I don't know how we put a dollar figure on that. But then success also is, what has the team been able to do in terms of offloading their other activities or prior to the system going live activities in favor of more value add activities. So in essence, success there is, we have expanded our workforce non-organically. In other words, we did not hire additional people. We simply changed what they were working on and made each person more valuable to the organization. That's definitely success. And did we or did we not meet the business case? So we had a very conservative business case, and I would tell you that we exceeded that business case dramatically because of what we were able to do with this tool that, frankly, I never was able to foresee as we were putting the business case together. So success needs to be very well quantified and qualified, but I would say that we are successful based upon what we've been able to do since April of last year.
Excellent. Yes. Okay. So that is just about all the time that we have today. If there is a question that we did not get to here in the live program, we'll do our best to get you those answers offline. But please join me in thanking Wade McNabb, Kia Bennett, Jennifer Bianchini, and Levi Square for their presentation, as well as our sponsor, ETQ. If you have any additional questions or comments, please don't hesitate to click the Email Us button on the console. Please visit qualitymag.com/webinars for the archive of this presentation, as well as information about our upcoming events. We appreciate your time and hope you found this webinar to be a valuable experience. Have a great day.